What is up, everyone? Tony Picks here with another upload. Going to be doing the main fight card for UFC 236 Holloway versus Poirier. So let's get right into it. Going to try to break down the first few pretty quickly and then give some pretty good breakdowns for the and main fight card. So kicking off the main card, we have a light heavyweight matchup between OSP against Nikita Krylov. A rematch. OSP won the first fight via Ovince St. Preux choke, formerly known as the Jason Von Flue choke. Pretty interesting trajectory after both of these two guys fought. Nikita Krylov kind of went on a 5-fight winning streak against low-level light heavyweights, kind of padding his record a bit, but was still impressive nonetheless. Recently coming off of a loss, an arm triangle loss to Yan, who's a high-level fighter. OSP coming off of a loss to Dominic Reyes, kind of got dominated that whole fight on the feet. Dominic Reyes was impressive. Dominic Reyes is a prospect in the division, coming off of a questionable win of Volkan Ozdemir. But nonetheless, going to be interesting to see how this fight plays out. I think that in terms of overall striking, Nikita Krylov mixes in the kicks better than OSP, although OSP is capable of landing kicks like we've seen against Corey Anderson. I think that Nikita Krylov has the better technique with his kicks and his striking in terms of kicking off of the punches, so he'll throw decent combos and he'll throw a kick after that, whereas OSP will kind of just throw the kick by itself. He won't really mask it with punches before or after. So I'm going to give the edge in terms of technical stand-up to Nikita Krylov, but other than that, I'm going to give the edge in terms of power, wrestling, and ground game to OSP. I think he's a much stronger fighter. He's fought in a lot stronger opponents in terms of, like, if you look at their records, OSP's fought in kind of killers. Dominic Reyes, Ilir Latifi, like those are his two most recent losses. Corey Anderson, he beat Corey Anderson. He's been impressive in his fights, and he's fought in high-ranked guys. Whereas if you look at Nikita Krylov's last few fights, other than Jan Blachowicz, you can't really remember any of those guys' names realistically. So he hasn't really fought the high-level guys. So with that being said, I'm going to give the edge here to Ovince St. Preux. I think he's going to be able to edge him out in the stand-up. I think he's going to get the fight to the ground, and I think he's going to submit Nikita Krylov. It'd be pretty interesting to see if he could get the OSP choke again. So with that being said, I'm going to give OSP the win via late finish in the third round via submission. Moving on to the next fight between Alan Jouban and Dwight Grant. Once again, another pretty interesting matchup. I think this fight's going to play out on the feet. Both of these guys are well-decorated strikers, not really wrestlers or anything like that. Alan Jouban coming off of a pretty impressive win of Ben Saunders' knockout of the night performance. Dwight Grant also coming off of a not really impressive but interesting knockout of Carlo Pedersoli. That whole first round, Pedersoli was kind of beating Dwight Grant up, and then Grant landed that shot literally at the last second of the first round. Carlo Pedersoli kind of just not really let his guard down, but he wasn't fighting smart near the end of that fight. And before that fight against Carlo Pedersoli, Dwight Grant didn't really impress me. Really, even on the Contender Series, he doesn't really have good takedown defense. It takes him a while to get into the fight. He's very picky with his shots. To the counter, we have Alan Jouban, great kickboxer, mixes in his punches and his kicks well, has decent wrestling, although he doesn't really look for the takedown. He'll keep the fight standing. Slightly chinny. We've seen him get rocked in a few of his fights. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fight plays out. I think that in terms of more danger early, Dwight Grant's going to have that danger because he does have some pop in his shots and he is explosive. It takes him a while to let go of his hands, so it'll be interesting to see if he comes in the fight aggressive to kind of get his name out there. So I think in the first round it'll be interesting to see if Alan Jouban just starts working the leg, working the body early, staying out of range. I haven't really seen their reach advantage. So wow. Dwight Grant has a 4.5-inch reach advantage, which is going to be really interesting. I didn't even notice that really. So a lot lengthier than Jouban, and this fight's going to play standing up. Really, what I think this fight's going to come down to is Yuban being a veteran and having been in wars, fought tough, gritty fighters. I think he's going to be able to weather the storm if there's any storm early, and really just outpoint and out pick apart Dwight Grant. Is going to mix in the kicks well, and I think he may even be able to get a finish late in the second or third round. I think that Dwight Grant doesn't throw enough shots. He's kind of defensive and waits for the fight to come to him. I don't think Alan Eubank is the type of guy that's going to leave himself open by throwing big shots. I think he's going to mix in, touch him, and move around, and then land a big shot. Whereas Dwight Grant would be waiting for someone to land the big shot, miss, or leave themselves open, and then counter. So with that being said, I think I'm going to give. With that being said, I'm going to give the edge to Alan Eubank via finish in the late second or third round. Moving on to the next matchup, we have a light heavyweight matchup with Eric "Ya Boy" Anders versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. Both of these fighters coming off of some loss. Khalil Roundtree coming off of a devastating elbow loss to Johnny Walker. Eric "Ya Boy" coming off of a loss to Elias Theodorou. Wasn't impressive at all, that fight. I don't know, this is interesting me. A lot of prediction videos that I've seen have given Eric, or predicting Eric Anders in this fight. I think that the move up to light heavyweight isn't good for him, especially against a fighter like Khalil Roundtree. And Khalil Roundtree actually spent a few months in Thailand working on the clinch game. After getting clinched out like that, he should, but still, nonetheless, Khalil Roundtree's kind of a bad matchup for Eric Anders. Eric Anders likes to impose his will and try to come forward, keeps the fight standing up, does have some decent wrestling, but other than that, he's not really a threat, especially going up in weight. It's not like his power is going to be significant like it is at middleweight. So very interesting, the move up by Eric Anders. I think that really Khalil Roundtree is going to be able to pick him apart on the feet, going to land the bigger shots, avoid any takedowns if possible, because I think the only shot Eric Anders would have would be ground and pound. We have seen Khalil Roundtree get taken down. Doesn't really have the best ground game, but I think training in Thailand, getting that clinch game tightened up, I really think he's going to be able to avoid Eric Anders' takedowns if he shoots for them early, which would be the ideal tactic for Eric Anders. I don't think he should go in there and try to exchange with Khalil Roundtree. I think Khalil Roundtree is much better, a much better striker, much more decorated in terms of kicking. Throws vicious leg kicks, vicious body kicks, and mixes in his hands well. So I think Eric Anders would do well trying to get in, make it dirty, get the takedown, ground and pound. In terms of cardio, both of these guys haven't really shown the greatest of cardio. 1 inch reach advantage for Khalil Roundtree. So yeah, this fight for me plays out on the feet. I see Khalil Roundtree landing the better shots, exchanging the bigger shots, being the smarter fighter. We've seen Eric Anders chase Elias Theodorou that whole fight. Didn't try to cut him off. Doesn't really have a high fighter's IQ, whereas Khalil Roundtree does have a better IQ, I believe. So, with that being said, I'm going to give Khalil Roundtree Jr. the victory via unanimous decision, or possibly a late KO. The reason I say late KO is I can see Eric Anders getting tired from throwing bombs early, and then Khalil Roundtree just picking apart, eventually just landing a big body kick or something like that that puts Eric Anders out. So I'm going to give the decision unanimous or late KO to Khalil Roundtree Jr. Moving on to the co-main event. This one's an interesting matchup. Kelvin Gastelum versus Israel Adesanya. Obviously what jumps at you is the height discrepancy and the reach discrepancy. And instantly you think, wow, like, how is Islam going to match up against Israel Adesanya, who's that much bigger than him? And my mentality is, that shouldn't affect Kelvin Gastelum that much because he doesn't fight big. He's never fought big. He always has been a smaller guy in most of his fights. He's never been someone to try to fight at range. He's always been someone who tries to get in range, land big shots, and really use his hands in close. And land takedowns. We've seen him land some decent takedowns. He doesn't have the worst wrestling. Not going to really say he's a well-decorated wrestler, but he does have decent wrestling. Israel Adesanya, on the other hand, obviously one of the greatest stand-up fighters currently right now in the UFC. Very interesting to watch. Very good at cutting angles. putting together his strikes, choosing his shots, aiming, uh, and firing. He's very, very tactical on the feet, very good at managing distance, and it's going to be interesting. Obviously, this is a matchup where Israel Adesanya is going to want to keep it at distance, land the bigger shots, kind of pick at Kelvin Gastelum, eventually open him up for a big shot. And Gastelum's going to want to get inside, make this fight really dirty, force Israel Adesanya to exert a lot of energy in the early rounds, putting him against the cage, forcing him to defend takedowns. It's going to be very interesting to see how this fight goes. So I'm trying to do a quicker breakdown video, so without like all the bullshit. I think Israel Adesanya's key to victory is just using the jab, the oblique kicks early. Every time Kelvin Gastelum comes in, show the knee, show the elbow, make him eat something, make him pay for coming in. We see fighters like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, in recent we've seen, I'm trying to think at the last fight card, but Joanna Jędrzejczyk does it really well. When people come in for the clinch or try to get an early on her, she'll throw elbows off the break and really land to hurt them. Fuck, it's right on the tip of my tongue. There was a fighter who was landing the elbow as well, and he landed them off the break this last fight card. But anyways, Israel Adesanya's got to make Kelvin Gastelum pay every time he comes in early. Excuse me, this cough is horrible. So Israel Adesanya's going to have to make Kelvin Gastelum pay every time he comes in by throwing knees, elbows off the break, really just throwing shots. And Kelvin Gastelum's going to have to keep working at really tearing out Israel Adesanya. Something I will say here, in my opinion, is I don't think that, like, what I think in my mind, and this is a bit different than other people, is I think that if Israel Adesanya wins, it's going to be by unanimous decision. I think he's just going to pick apart Kelvin Gastelum, whereas if Kelvin Gastelum wins, I think he's actually going to finish Israel Adesanya. So Israel Adesanya's key to victory is keeping Kelvin Gastelum at range, striking like he does no one else can strike or think like him, kind of read the fight as it happens. That's also what Israel Adesanya is very good at, and land the bigger shots every time Kelvin Gastelum comes in, make him pay coming in and off the break, and then turn up the heat in the later rounds to try to look for that finish. That's Israel Adesanya's key to victory. Now Kelvin Gastelum, on his perspective, I think that his key to victory is just getting in, making Israel Adesanya work. Whether or not he's actually landing the takedowns, it's just a matter of making Israel Adesanya defend them. We haven't really seen him defend like many takedown consecutive shots against high-level wrestlers. A lot of people are saying, oh, like Derek Brunson tried to like land a takedown on Israel Adesanya, but if you watch the clip, Derek Brunson was rocked and he was trying to take a desperation takedown. He was left himself wide open and he was eating shots as he was throwing the takedown. So we've seen Israel Adesanya get taken down against Marvin Vettori, the Italian beefcake, who's really not a decorated wrestler at all. We've seen Israel Adesanya get taken down a few times in the third round. So and obviously Anderson Silva didn't try to take him down because he's a stand-up fighter. So like, I don't know. Here's my pick. Straight up, I think Kelvin Gastelum's gonna shut up Israel Adesanya's hype train. I think Kelvin Gastelum gets in well. He throws his hands to get in. It's not like he just shoots in without disguising it. He trains at Black Zillion, so he trains around killers. He's got a tough chin. He's like got that tough grit Mexican style. And the thing with Kelvin Gastelum is he doesn't stop. Kelvin Gastelum will press you. He trains at high altitude. The guy's a monster, and I think that Israel Adesanya is going to be taken into deep waters. He's going to be looking for the finish and looking for the highlights rather than really chipping at Kelvin Gastelum, outpointing him, and then looking for the finish. I think Israel Adesanya is going to look for that highlight, and the way this fight plays out is Kelvin Gastelum turns this into a dirty fight, gets in early quick, lands a takedown on Israel Adesanya, and just starts beating him up, really just and forces Israel Adesanya to work. And I see Kelvin Gastelum getting a finish anywhere after the third round. I think he's going to grind out the first two, where Israel Adesanya is going to be most dangerous. And then after that, I see him just getting outworked, not having the energy to defend the takedowns, getting beat up. So with that being said, I'm going to give the TKO to Kelvin Gastelum in the 4th round, and you can write that one down right now, and you can put that one on your calendars for Saturday, because I think Israel Adesanya's hype train is going to get stopped in its tracks. Moving on to the main event of the evening, we got Max Holloway squaring off against Dustin Poirier in the rematch. So I will say this right off the top, a lot of people are sleeping on my boy Dustin Poirier, man. A lot of people are eager to jump to Max Holloway. Dustin Poirier is a decorated vet, and he's a dog. He's fought dogs, and he's won against them. He's able to bite down on the mouthpiece, take some pain and give it back. And he's the type of fighter that when he gets hurt, he fights back. He throws back with more intention. So it's not like he gets hurt and he shies down. He's going out on his shield. So it's going to be interesting. Either way this fight plays out, it's going to be interesting. Very well decorated on the ground. I believe he does have a BJJ black belt. Has a few wins by submission, of course. The the armbar of Max Holloway was Max Holloway's last loss. This is so interesting, man. Max Holloway coming up to 155 here. So my key to victories here is Dustin Poirier has got to land early, which he definitely is more than capable of doing. I think early, in terms of early first 2, even early of the 3rd round, Poirier is going to have the power advantage in terms of the striking and the boxing advantage. Poirier is sharp with his boxing, man. He's a good counter striker, and he's got pop in his shots. And Max Holloway's hasn't been tested against 155 strength yet, so it'll be interesting to see how he deals with it, because he does get hit. He has been hit in a few of his fights, so it'll be interesting to see early how he deals with taking those shots. So quick kind of layout of it, I think Poirier has the best chance early in the 1st, 2nd, and early 3rd round for him winning is landing a big shot, getting Max Holloway rocked. And if he's rocked, all he has to do is just chip at it. If Max Holloway shoots for the desperation takedown, Poirier is going to be more than ready to take him on the not take him on the ground, really to just go on the ground, control the ground, beat him up, and look for a takedown. And if he rocks him, he's really just going to be able to just keep picking at him and land a big shot early, because he's going to have the power to put Max Holloway out. We can't kind of cross out Dustin Poirier's wrestling. He does have wicked wrestling, but a lot of people are sleeping on Max Holloway's grappling defense. Max Holloway's got really good takedown defense, and I think a lot of people sleep on his takedown defense. I think it's one of the best in the 145 division. Part of that is because he switches his feet so well when he strikes, so he's always able to shift those hips back and avoid the takedowns. So the way I personally see this fight playing out is the way that Max Holloway is going to win this fight is just fighting a Max Holloway fight at 155. Right from that starting of the bell, move forward, put the pressure on Poirier, land the bigger shots, avoid the takedown, and just do that throughout 5 rounds. I think that Poirier is going to be really tough to finish, unless Max Holloway mixes in the leg kicks early, like Justin Gaethje, which he may do, but not to that extent, or goes to the body, which he's very good at. But I think that Max Holloway is really just going to turn the pressure on. And the thing with champions moving up is you never know if you're really seeing the best of the champion until they move up a division. They're not having to cut weight. They can kind of diet how they want to. Their full capacity up until the fight, put in a full fight camp, solely based on the fight, not having to kind of do a fight camp and then know you have that weight cut. So it's going to be really interesting to see, because there's a difference obviously at walk around weight. Poirier will have to maybe cut down a bit, whereas Max Holloway won't have to cut as much, because his walking around weight is different than Dustin Poirier's. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But obviously Max Holloway has the cardio advantage. With that being said, I'm basically going to try to wrap this up, make this one nice and quick. I'm going to give the unanimous decision victory to Max Holloway. He may be able to finish the fight in the 4th or 5th round if he turns it on hard and mixes in the leg kicks and gets Poirier hurt. I think Poirier will crumble under that pressure. But in terms of if it's the same performance we've seen against Brian Ortega, more just mixing in the hands, not really that many leg kicks, I think Poirier has decent enough boxing not to eat that much damage in the first and second rounds, but to kind of slip in those later championship 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds. So with that being said, I'm going to submit my decision with Max Holloway via unanimous decision or KO in the 5th round. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed those predictions. Like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed this video, and have a good one.